Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. I am your host, June Archer. This is the Winner Circle. Today, I have a very special guest. I know I tell you that all the time, but I'm super excited about this young creative. She goes by the name of Jada George, and she has a new short film that I know that you're going to like. It may ruffle a little feather or two, but I promise you, it will get you thinking. I want to welcome to the stream the producer of Where the Children Go to Play. Please welcome Jada George. Jada, how you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much for this. And just a quick thing, I'm the director of Where the Children Go to Play. Yes.
Oh, see, she put me right in my place. Not playing. Not playing.
Well, I wear all the hats though, so you know,
Ab-
filmmaking is one thing.
Absolutely. Now, so let me ask you this as we're getting started. Um, what was your inspiration behind even wanting to pursue this and pursue a degree that you were able to graduate from Hampton University?
Yes. Man, I mean, I've always known that I wanted to be in the film industry. I just didn't know where. At first I thought it was I wanted to be an actress, and then I took a few acting classes and I was like, no, I don't want to be on stage. I don't want to be in front of the camera. Then I tried my hand with editing, and I actually took a lot of editing classes at Hampton. So that was my true introduction when you can see that the storytelling comes from how you piece it together with editing. So I lived in that space for a while, but when I discovered the art of directing, it was like, oh, this is home, this is where I needed to be. And to this day, I'm just a student of directing. I'm a student of film, and this story in particular, I was just so excited to showcase what I can do. I think there was just the word that comes to mind is just urgency with this film. We'll get down into what the film's actually about, and there's an urgency in that, if we're referencing today in society that we're living today. But on a basic level, I think just the urgency of, I've held myself back for so long, overthinking and wondering how people would receive my work. So I just never put it out because I didn't want people to think it was bad. But, God was on me with this one. This one, it was a project that was brought to me in 2020. It got put on the back burner, but I was constantly, visualizing it in my head. And last summer when we filmed it, God left me with no choice but to do it. I had no choice but to say okay, because he brought the producers in line, he had the funding in line, we had a cast ready. Like, I just had to show up. And when God places it like that for you, you can't say no. So I think just the urgency of this project, I was excited to try my hand at it.
No, it's funny you say that because sometimes we get into a space where we hear that thing, right? But we don't fully accept it because we don't really know where it comes from or how to push through it, right? Or how to activate this thing. But sometimes it is a higher being telling you, "Hey, I'm giving you the blueprint. I'm giving you the key to success." Some call it intuition. Some call
Mhm.
it divine order. Whatever it is that you call it. Sometimes I call them road signs. Sometimes
Mhm.
you have to stop and pay attention to the road signs. Sometimes it could be mama and them. It could be your cousins. It could be a friend. It could be a partner telling you, Jada, you got to do this. Jada, what do you
Mhm.
think about this? And of course, you filter these things, right? But
Yeah.
sometimes you're like, that's the fourth person that said that this month,
Exactly.
right? And you have to pursue that thing, good, bad, or indifferent. I truly believe that. Good,
Yeah.
bad, or indifferent. You have to pursue it because you don't know what's going to turn out to be, right?
Exactly.
Some things don't work out, and it doesn't mean you weren't supposed to do them, but can you see them through? I want
Exactly.
to go back a touch um,
Mhm.
to the Hampton piece. Uh,
Mhm.
I know a little bit about Hampton, had friends that went to Hampton, but you get on this campus day one, they close the gates, you are there, you're in somewhat of a gated community.
Mhm.
What was your feeling for those years that you were there and saying to yourself, when I come out on the other side of this,
Mhm.
this is what I want to do? What was
Yeah.
that experience at an HBCU
Mhm.
around people that look like you,
Yep.
that make up the same cultural background, but are also different than you on
Yeah.
one campus for for the years that you went there?
Yeah, well, I mean, you said it yourself. I came from a PWI, um, kind of just my entire growing up. It was predominantly white, so I was always like the only black girl, and I was so used to it, you know. It was I saw the things that my friends had, and it was something that would always be in my mind. Like, why do they have these huge houses and they have, you know, their parents are working these incredible jobs and they have money to go on vacation every summer. You know, it was something that was always in my mind. And to be honest, I didn't, you know, that's why I love this business. Is it's our duty to showcase what you can do. And I remember being at an age where I didn't see too many of, you know, people of color doing things that I saw my friends doing. So I didn't know that you could do it.
Right.
But when it was time to graduate, I remember my mom saying, you know, I don't care which HBCU you go to, but you're going to an HBCU. And again, we didn't learn about HBCUs in at my high school. We learned about the Penn States and the, you know, schools in Florida, like all the major, you know, schools that are not HBCUs. So I remember doing my research, but I also was feeling iffy about it because I just didn't know that experience at all. But I remember we did a tour at Hampton University. And like I said, you said it perfectly. Once those gates opened and I saw a campus full of people who looked like me, you know, I saw the men dressed up in suits, you know, the business, the 5-year MBA program, they have to wear suits and they had the briefcases. And I remember just being like, whoa, like this space, it's really just an energy that you feel. And it almost just feels like it it like rocketed me up into the sky before I even, you know, begin to figure out what I wanted to do in life. That stepping stone alone, I feel like it just launched me into a complete new level of life. Just, you know, changing my perspective, seeing that, you know, anything that is out in the world, anything that you imagine, like you can do it, and being around like-minded individuals who look like me, who were doing it, it was just like, it was insane. It was a motivation, it was an inspiration in itself. Without me even attending my first class, I knew like, okay, this is my home by the sea, which is what we call it. And from there, it was just, you know, when you get to high school, that's kind of an opportunity for you to reinvent yourself. But for me specifically, I went to high school with the same people that I went to kindergarten with. So it was like they knew me from when I was young. So when it was time to go to college, I already knew that this was going to be a place that I reinvent myself. I grew up in sports. I played basketball like my whole life. I did karate for some time, and then just having fun with tennis and volleyball and anything else. I was just, you know, always into sports, but I always had art in the back of my mind in every form. So I knew when I get to Hampton, I'm completely shifting, I'm pivoting, and I'm going down this lane of just perfecting my craft as an artist. And that's when I just began taking film classes. I said editing classes, you know, I learned how to work a camera, and I just fell in line with a bunch of folks who were also into film. So it was just inspiring, to say the least. Like, I wouldn't be who I am today without my HBCU experience. That's for sure.
Now, let's take affirmative action and DEI off the table because that is what has happened.
Hmm.
How important is funding and support for the creative arts, especially as it relates to HBCUs?
Yeah. So I think the historical fact of HBCUs is something that's always spotlighted. And I think that could sometimes be the thing that holds us back. I know, for instance, with my classes, the equipment that we use, it was so outdated and it was so irrelevant to, you know, just how, you know, technology is like constantly, we move up 5 years in technology every second. So I think that's always going to be the downfall, which is why I know, coming from an HBCU and now being in this industry, that's like my number one goal, is to make sure that when I do get to a place of being able to give back to the extent that I want to, that's like first on my list. It's making sure that Hampton University, specifically Howard, I grew up in Maryland, you know, all of the HBCUs. I have so much family who went to HBCUs, but you know, art is that's how we can show who we are. And as we begin to step into these rooms and take seats at these tables, it's us controlling our narrative and beginning to control our narrative, which is something that we haven't been able to do. So it's important that before we even get to that place, you know, being in Hollywood and being amongst peers who come from schools that have thousands of dollars behind their arts programs, I think it's important that we start there. Like, you have to start at the colleges, even if we could go ahead of it and start at high schools, but just showing how you get things done on a level that is standard to the industry. Because I think that's always going to be the gap, where it's like, okay, we're learning how to tell stories. That's a gift that I think we all have, is how to tell a story. But when you don't have the correct funding, you know, that's when the quality comes into play. And unfortunately, people won't look at things based on quality, especially when you get to a level that's out here. So a lot of things that we do will be pushed on the back burner. And I think that's unfair. So I think that's something that I'm huge on making sure that when I do get to that opportunity and that chance to truly give back, like, my number one thing is we need some cameras that are, you know, standard. We need to get all the softwares for editing, because you can learn these things all you want, but when you get to an industry where it's a completely new software, it's going to set you back, and they're going to look at you like an intern when you should be going in at an executive level. So I think it's about funding, and we need to make sure that we have a say on where that funding goes, and not just, let me donate 10,000 to this school and whatever they do with it is what they do with it. Because that's when it, you know, it starts going to things that aren't important in terms of just how we can elevate ourselves as a community. So I think it's just making sure that you're placing the money in the right hands, and you actually have a specific intentional cause before you get to that.
I appreciate that, and I commend you on that. I think it's super important,
Mhm.
that we fund these things and support these things, because I know that we are battling with free speech, but you cannot silence
Exactly.
creative arts. You really can't. You stand on the shoulders of great women like Sally Richardson, Ava DuVernay, Lena
Mhm.
Waithe, the Oprahs of the world. Uh, who is, or who are the
Yeah.
women you look at, or even if it's not just women, who are
Mhm.
the directors that you look to say, man, I don't want to emulate what they've done, but I am excited to see what I can do based on what they have done.
Yeah. I think someone who stands out to me first is Gina Prince Bythewood. You know, I grew up playing basketball, so loving basketball
Loving
was
basketball, you can't get no better than that. Shout out to Gina. Shout out
exactly,
to Gina. Yeah.
exactly. So that alone, I think that showed me, and I actually had the opportunity to meet her. It was at a screening for Woman King, and you know, we had a conversation, and it's funny because she immediately looked at me and she said, "Did you used to play basketball?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "You played point guard, didn't you?" And I was like, "Yeah." And we ended up having a whole conversation about it. But she's the first person that kind of helped me marry the two, and make sense of why God had me as an athlete for so long, as a point guard, because I began to see just how much a point guard is equivalent to being a director.
Absolutely.
And that
Absolutely.
just made her, that solidified her place in terms of, you know, my inspirations. But yeah, Gina, I think she, outside of love and basketball, I'm a big romance type of girl, which is complete opposite of this. But I think she just does a great job of empowering and showcasing a Black female perspective, you know, beyond the lights, that was also showcasing a character played by Nate Parker. So I think she just does a great job of including vulnerability in a way that we don't necessarily see with Black leads, and creating worlds that ultimately just empower people. With Women King, that was like, I wish I, personally, I feel like that didn't get as much credit as it needed to for what it did to just the community, seeing strong Black women showcasing themselves in a way that's king-like was so powerful. And I think she just like hits the nail on the head every time. So Gina Prince Bythewood is like one of my all-time like inspirations. And then, I have a bunch of other people here and there, but Gina for sure.
All right. Well, shout out to Gina, and hopefully one day you're gonna work with Gina in another capacity.
Hey,
So we
you're
can put that out into the atmosphere. That's
Yeah.
our universe now. So we're gonna let that
simmer and
simmer all of. Let's get into where the children go to play. What was the inspiration behind this, and what is your message without giving it away? Because I want people to be able to go and see this and dive into it without any preconceived notion or idea. What was the inspiration behind it? Or what do you want people to take from it?
Yeah. So I want to bring back the word that I said earlier, urgency. When this was brought to me in 2020, there was a lot of missing holes that I was trying to look for inspiration to fill, which is why I think the timing of it couldn't have been perfect. Not to give anything away, but we're watching candidates versus proctors, as we call them. And I think for the longest, I didn't know who the proctors were. I didn't know if they were supposed to be aliens, if they were supposed to be robots. But I think around 2023, 2024, which is when we circled back on this project. That's kind of when AI began to be like the topic of conversation. And there was like a firm lens on it where, AI has always existed, but I think it was just introduced to us on a grander scale. And that's when everything clicked. And I think, again, that's God's timing, because it's like everything was laid out and that was a piece that I was missing. But once I realized, oh, they're I think that completely shifted the entire story and just made it extremely relevant to today. I'm a fan of Black Mirror and how they touch on technology in a way that is like, it's unsettling, because when we think of futuristic worlds, we think it's so far out of reach, but I think Black Mirror does a job of connecting it to reality today. And that's what makes it scary, because it's like, oh, it's not as distant as we think. So I think Black Mirror was like one of the biggest inspirations for this. And then just when I realized that AI was how I was going to identify these proctors, it just fell into play, because it's really just the story of, what happens when we put too much power into technology and we lose track of humanity and the things that make us human. In a world where it'll come full circle, it's like when I think of Chat GPT, it's like, okay, we're typing in all these things thinking that it's helping us with, whether it's people use it for therapy or people use it to help, with, I don't know, anything that you can think of, basically. But we're basically putting all of this information into a system, and it kind of plays with that thing of like, okay, what if this system gains consciousness and it's listening to all of these stories that we're plugging in? I'm telling them about what happened last night and I'm asking for advice, and it realizes that it's criminal what we're doing to each other as humans. The inequality that comes with living into today's society, just the small things of where power has a huge role in just survival in the world. And what will happen if AI says, you know what, they're not living it right, so let's overpower them and now y'all answer to us. And that's kind of the story of it, where it doesn't seem too far, right? It's almost like the more we keep inputting information and giving them the knowledge, what's going to happen when they realize, whoa, these humans are crazy and they don't deserve, you know, the power to run this society. So let's overtake it. And that's kind of that story.
Well, congratulations on the, as you're making your rounds with the film festivals, best U.S. short.
Yes,
For
thank
those who
you.
aren't familiar with the term short or short film, can you
Mhm.
briefly explain what it is for those who are watching and listening, what a short is?
Yeah, so a short, I think the most it could normally be is 30 minutes. When it comes to film festivals, they normally cap it at 15 minutes, but it's it's taking a story and basically shortening it. It's 15 minutes. You have to tell beginning, middle, and end compared to a full length feature film, which is normally what you see when you're going to the movie theaters, and it's a 2 hour long film. So it's kind of just shortening it. And, there's a whole world of short films where it's almost, you can get stories that are more authentic, I think, because it's the independent route, and it's telling stories without having it go through all the networks and all of the studios and all the people who can say, you know what, I don't like that scene, take that out. I don't like that, take that out. So I think there's an authenticity to it and a realness to short films, which is why I was super excited to, finally get one out at this level for sure.
Now, where, when, and how can those watching and listening see where the children go to play?
Yeah, so it's still in the festival circuit. So, I mean, every day I'm getting new news from my producers of new festivals that we've gotten into. So, I'm super excited for that. It probably won't be released until sometime next year on a streaming platform. We've had a few people reach out to us for distribution. So, we'll definitely have some more information with that. But right now, you can catch the trailer on our page on Instagram, where the children go to play, and you can also keep up with where it'll be screening. So upcoming, we have Baltimore, we have Nashville, we have one in New York coming up, but it's been playing all over the country, and I'm just excited if you can catch it at a film festival. That would be great. We would love your support, but next year we're hoping to really get this thing streaming somewhere so that everyone can see it.
And where can we like you and follow you?
You can you can follow my Instagram at JM period Beanie. That's Beanie. And it's the same on, I have a TikTok where I post a few things. I'm an artist through and through, so I post my artwork. Just anything that has to do with Jada as a creative, I think you can really find it on my Instagram. And I do have a website, which is in the bio of my Instagram.
Jada, I am so excited to have met you. So excited to have this time. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Jada George, aka JM Beanie,
Yes.
aka your director's favorite director on the come up.
Yeah.
And you will see where the children go to play soon, wherever it's streamed. We'll put the information on underneath where you're watching right now. Please go out and support this young creative. And I promise you, you won't be disappointed, and you will only inspire more young people, especially people of color, looking to get into the creative arts, because I really feel that our young people are going to thrive in this space. So,
Yeah.
Jada,
That's
thank
the
you.
goal.
I love you. Keep
Thank
doing
you
what you're doing. And
so
I'm
much.
looking forward to when this releases, that we have another conversation
Yes.
about the success and the
Yes.
next project. Ladies
Yeah.
and gentlemen, that's Jada George. I am your host, June Archer. This is the Winner Circle. Thank you so much for tuning in. Like it, love it, share it. And as I always say, never leave the opportunity undone to tell somebody you love them. It may be the last opportunity you have to do so. Thank you for tuning in.
Yes.
Peace.
Much love. Much love. Thank you. Thank you.